There's a season no one prepares you for, a season that creeps in like a silent shadow, unannounced, and stays longer than it should. A season that isn't just cold outside, but burrows deep into your bones, freezing everything you are inside. They call it winter. But this winter, it's more than the weather. It's that phase of life where everything stands still, frozen in time, in failure, in loneliness. No progress, no warmth, just silence. It's the arc where you're forced to confront your demons when the noise of the world has died down. And there's no escape. You stand alone in the frost, stripped of everything, dreams, friendships, love, and what's left? You, alone with the cold. This winter isn't a season on the calendar. It's the stretch in your life where things stop making sense, where the weight of existence crushes your soul. But what if, just what if, this winter wasn't the end? What if the cold, the darkness, the emptiness were just the beginning of something even you cannot see yet? It's funny how no one talks about the times when life goes quiet. You live in a world that celebrates movement, milestones, achievements, relationships, progress. But winter comes, and suddenly, it all stops. People drift away. Opportunities dry up. Everything feels frozen in place. You wake up every day, but it's like you're moving in slow motion. The phone doesn't ring. No one checks on you. Your mind replays every mistake you've made like a broken record. You tell yourself, maybe tomorrow will be better, but it isn't. Tomorrow arrives just like today, cold and lifeless. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and before you know it, you're lost in the winter arc. This is where you start questioning everything. Why am I still here? Why does everyone move on without me? You see the world outside, people smiling, achieving, celebrating, and you wonder, why not me? It's the kind of loneliness that no words can fully capture, a feeling that sits quietly in your chest, growing heavier with every breath. Winter is dangerous because it's subtle. It doesn't knock you down in one blow, it eats away at you piece by piece. It's in the little things, the skipped meals, the texts you no longer bother to send, the mornings you lay in bed staring at the ceiling because getting up feels pointless. It's in the way you stop dreaming because what's the point? Every dream you had feels like it died in the cold. People tell you, stay strong. But those are just words. They don't know how it feels to carry a storm inside. They don't understand the battles you fight in silence every night when no one's watching. They have no idea what it's like to scream in your mind while your face stays expressionless, frozen like the winter around you. And the worst part, no one notices. They think you're fine because you've mastered the art of saying, I'm okay. You laugh when they expect you to, show up when you have to, and disappear the rest of the time. It's a slow collapse, one no one sees, not even you, until it's too late. Every winter has a moment when the cold becomes unbearable. It's the moment when everything inside you shatters. You've tried to hold it together for so long that the weight finally cracks you open. Maybe it's a betrayal from someone you trusted. Maybe it's the realization that no one is coming to save you. Or maybe it's just exhaustion, pure, relentless exhaustion from pretending you're fine. You hit a point where you think, this is it. I can't go on. And for a moment, it feels like giving up would be the easiest thing to do. Why fight? Why push through? If the world has turned its back on you, why not turn your back on it too? But here's the truth no one tells you. Winter doesn't care if you quit. The cold will stay whether you fight or not. There's no mercy in this arc. You're left with only two choices. Stay frozen in place and let the winter consume you, or find a way to fight back, even when everything inside you is screaming to give up. Here's where everything changes. At some point, you realize something important. The cold isn't going away. The winter arc isn't something you escape. It's something you survive. And survival? It means you stop waiting for the world to warm you up. You start learning how to live with the cold. This is the part where you stop begging for comfort, stop expecting someone to rescue you, and start building your own fire. It won't be a bonfire. It'll be a small flame, just enough to keep you alive for one more day. And some days, that's all you'll have. But that flame is everything. You begin to understand that strength isn't loud. It isn't about being fearless or invincible. Strength is quiet. It's in the decision to get up even when you'd rather disappear. It's in the moments when you tell yourself, I'll try again tomorrow, even when you're certain tomorrow will be just as cold. Strength is surviving the winter, one breath at a time. Isolation is a double-edged sword. It can destroy you if you let it, but it can also become your greatest weapon. When the world shuts you out, you have two options: drown in the silence or use it to rebuild yourself. This is where you start to understand that being alone doesn't mean being weak. In fact, solitude teaches you things that noise never could. In the silence, you learn who you really are, without the masks, without the distractions. You confront the parts of yourself you've been running from. The pain, the fear, the doubts, they all come to the surface. And as much as it hurts, this is where the transformation begins. The winter arc is your forge. It burns away everything you thought you were and reveals the person you were always meant to become. Here's the secret no one tells you. Winter ends, but not in the way you expect. It doesn't end because the world suddenly becomes kind, or because life finally starts making sense. It ends because you change. You stop waiting for things to go back to how they were. You stop looking for warmth from people who never cared in the first place. You become your own warmth. You stop fearing the cold because you've learned how to thrive in it. You start moving again, not because life is easier, but because you've become stronger. Every step you take in the winter arc is a victory, a reminder that the cold couldn't break you. And when the ice finally begins to thaw, you realize something profound. You're not the same person who entered this winter. The version of you that walked into the cold is gone. In its place stands someone new, someone forged by the frost, hardened by the silence, and stronger than the storms that tried to break you. There comes a point in the winter arc when everything shifts. The cold no longer feels like an enemy. It becomes familiar, almost comforting. The isolation that once crippled you now empowers you. You no longer crave warmth from others. You've learned to generate your own fire. And this is where the transformation takes hold. You stop running from the cold and start using it. This is when you stop being the hunted and become the hunter. You realize that the world didn't abandon you. It gave you space to sharpen your mind, your instincts, your resolve. You no longer fight for approval or chase after people who left you out in the storm. Instead, you hunt for yourself, for survival, for purpose, for the future you want to carve out of the frozen landscape. Winter forces you to let go of all illusions. You stop chasing love that doesn't love you back. You stop begging for doors that won't open. You stop clinging to the idea of being saved. And in that release, you find something powerful. Freedom. You become someone who no longer waits for the seasons to change. You change yourself. And once you learn that, you realize that winter was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken the predator within you, the version of you that doesn't just survive but thrives, even in the coldest conditions. But with this awakening comes a brutal truth. To move forward, you have to leave things behind. People, places, memories, even versions of yourself that no longer serve you. And that hurts. Letting go isn't easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. You'll have to release people you once thought would stand by you forever. You'll watch as friendships melt away like snow in the sun, leaving behind only puddles of what used to be. And the worst part? Not everyone will understand your journey. Some will call you cold, distant, even heartless. But they don't know what it took for you to survive the winter arc. They don't know the nights you cried in silence, the days you fought the urge to disappear, the battles you won just to make it this far. Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's about accepting that not everything belongs in your future. It's about understanding that not everyone can walk with you through the snow. Some people were only meant to walk with you through summer, and their chapter in your story has ended. And that's okay. The pain of letting go is the price of growth. It's the fire that melts away what no longer belongs, making room for the version of you that's rising from the ice. Winter teaches you that solitude isn't the enemy. Weakness is. The kind of weakness that makes you dependent on others for your happiness, for your worth, for your sense of self. The winter arc strips you of all that. It forces you to stand on your own 2 feet, even when every part of you wants to collapse. This is where you learn one of life's most valuable lessons. You are enough. Not in some shallow motivational poster way, but in the rawest sense possible. You are enough because you've survived the nights that would have broken others. You are enough because you've learned to live without the things you thought you couldn't live without. In solitude, you become your own anchor. You stop relying on others to validate you. You stop waiting for someone to complete you. You realize that everything you've ever needed has been inside you all along. It just took the winter arc to bring it to the surface. This is the kind of strength that can't be taught. It can't be given. It can only be earned. And once you earn it, no one can take it away from you. Every winter, no matter how long or brutal, eventually gives way to dawn. But here's the thing. By the time the thaw comes, you no longer depend on it. You've learned to live in the cold so well that the arrival of spring feels unnecessary. It's not that you're ungrateful for the light. It's just that you've become the kind of person who can thrive in any season. When the storm passes, people might expect you to go back to the person you were before the winter arc. But you know that's impossible. You're not the same. You'll never be the same. And that's not something to mourn, it's something to celebrate. The beauty of the winter arc is that it gives you the chance to become someone new, someone stronger, someone wiser, someone who no longer fears the storms because you've lived through the worst of them and come out the other side. And now, as the world begins to thaw, you find yourself standing at the edge of a new season. Not as the person who was lost, but as the person who was found. You've discovered parts of yourself you never knew existed. You've learned how to fight in the dark, how to survive the silence, and how to keep going when every reason to quit was staring you in the face. This is your dawn, not because the storm is over, but because you are over it. You no longer fear the cold. You are the cold. You no longer fear the dark. You've become its master. And now, with every step you take into the new season, you carry the winter inside you, not as a burden, but as a reminder that you are unbreakable. The winter arc isn't just a phase, it's a rite of passage, a crucible that burns away everything unnecessary and leaves behind only what's real. It's the season that teaches you what it means to survive, to grow, and to become. And here's the truth. You will face more winters in your life. The storms will come again, the cold will return, and the nights will feel endless. But now you're ready. Now you know that the winter arc isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. Because winter doesn't destroy you, it reveals you. And the person you become in the frost? That's the person who can survive anything. This is your winter arc. And it's not the end, it's just the beginning of everything you're meant to be. The winter arc is harsh, but it gives you a gift no other season can. You. And that, my friend, is something no one can ever take away. That's all. I'm out. By the way, if you want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. Until next time.